Thank you.
Hi everyone and welcome to tonight's small, intimate but recorded gathering. Um, uh, this session is really to start to look at ways that you might grow your creative business, and it comes from a program that's been running. We're almost through the first year of it, and we're going to run a new one next year called Create Growth, a training program. And this session is really about unpacking a little bit about what it means to grow a creative business, and particularly from people that have already done it. So we've got two people who have come to speak to us, which is, I do this every time. Which one suits?
Oh,
Sorry, could you move it on, Mark? We have a fantastic Aaron Tower from Punch Records, who's going to talk to us about the journey that he's been on. And Charlotte Holt, who is a founder of Fashion Library, who's going to talk a little bit more about her journey. And because growth is not the same for everybody, and depends on what you want to grow, we're in a situation where we've got different examples here, deliberately put next to each other. So with that, I'm going to ask some questions of the fantastic two panellists we've got about your experience. And Amo, can I come to you first? What I'd love, and I'm not sure, not everyone's going to know your story. So could you tell everybody a little bit about where you started, and particularly the focus about where your company started to grow and the kinds of challenges you found? Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear us okay? Yeah, cool. That's fair. Cool. So I'm Amo Talwa. I'm the chief executive of Punch Records. We're a music agency based in Birmingham. We have a lot of similarities to cities like Bristol, Manchester, and London in that we're naturally diverse. We have a massive migration of new communities from Asia, Africa, and the Caribbean. Music, culture, and creative industries plays a big part in our work. So I started, I actually graduated in civil engineering. How long do you want me to talk for? Quick, do you want me to do just a quick 1 minute intro, or do you want me to?
A little 1 minute intro would be great, because I've got follow-up questions.
Cool. Okay, cool. So I started off, I graduated in civil engineering, opened up a record store, decided we wanted to work in the music industry, developed a sort of creative agency, and now we do all sorts of weird and wonderful things that are based around diverse communities, culture, music, and then do loads of work in the EDI space as well.
Fantastic, thank you. Charlotte, can you tell me a little bit about the Fashion Library?
So a little bit of background on me. I'm a stylist and I've been working globally, most recently in the States, in Los Angeles. And a friend of mine who's like an established stylist there sent me to this wardrobe rental that's just for industry called the Ruby. And I walked in and I was just like, got the light bulb moment. I was like, why are we not doing this back in the UK? They have 130,000 pieces and it's industry only. And I was just like, we need this.
Sorry, when you say pieces, what does it mean to both like you and I in fashion?
So like clothing, accessories, there's literally everything. You can go in and prep your entire job, whether you're doing a really fun music video or TV commercial, or just a kind of box standard, semi-boring advertising job where they just need generic shirts and trousers. And so immediately I was just like, oh, this is amazing. And then I started to think about the sustainability angle of it, and how there's so much wastage. And also, like, as a stylist, we really fund the whole fast fashion like empire. It's mental. And then I started to look at the pain points of my life as a stylist, and what on top of like a rental house would help. So, like being able to work online, being able to create mood boards. And then I started getting into the whole tech realm of everything too.
Fantastic. We're going to dig into that a little bit more in a minute. Amo, so we've got two businesses here. One is a record, is it fair to say a record store originally, Amo, and then becomes more. And with Charlotte's, it's a library to rent, clothing and as you say, pieces for stylists. Two very different models. Amo, can you tell me a little bit about how the store developed into something else?
Yeah, sure. So when I opened the record store, I didn't really know what I was doing. We're going back a little bit. So our price, Tower Records were our competitors. And what we realized very quickly was we had to sort of be quite specialist. We couldn't compete with the majors, the distributors. So we decided we moved towards our passion point, but also we were almost solving a problem at the same time. A little bit of serendipity, but also I think, passion, place, helped us, become one of the leading black music record stores, definitely in the city, if not in the country. And we became known for selling music to DJs. So it was kind of DJ inspired record store. At the same time, vinyl music downloading was coming in, and I think people often talk about I developed this strategy. A lot of this stuff is based sometimes on luck. We used to have loads of youngsters that used to come into the shop, used to wag school. We just got talking to them, and before you knew it, we were developing, quite prolific programs for schools, predominantly Key Stage 3, looking at, alternative education, looking at how we use music as a tool to engage geography, literature, science. And so, the model of the business also changed as well. So whilst we were originally selling records and not making much money, the second phase of the business which was working with schools, colleges, universities, we almost tripled our business in the space of a year by just developing these really bog standard programs for schools, working with teachers, working with curriculum, working with the Department for Education, and things spiraled into another area, but we never lost track of core values.
So of course that's over a long period of time. You're condensing a lot of events that happen, but there's something interesting about how you knew what kind of music you should be selling and how that could build the business. And then making that leap to education stuff, that's a big leap, isn't it? It probably sounded really
Yeah.
at the time, but yeah.
At the time, it was quite revolutionary. Retrospectively, we talk quite casually about the things that we did 20 years ago, but we were taking, what we loved, which was black music, black culture, hip hop, taking it into schools, but we never really called it hip hop education, but ultimately at the core, it was hip hop education. We used to call it cross-curricular work. We used to, talk about Shakespeare in sort of linking Shakespeare to Jay-Z, Ebonics, metaphors, storytelling, but done in a clever way. We weren't naive. We studied the curriculum as well. So whilst we were passionate about music, we were also passionate about learning and teaching those that wanted to be taught. And also technology at that moment, we're talking just post-millennium, was changing rapidly. So, new technology, downloading, streaming, people making tunes on Sony PlayStation, grime music was new. So there was this kind of plethora of new energy, and we were just at the heart of it in an interesting city, interesting cross junction around sort of multiculturalism as well. So it's kind of a number of things that helped us. But at the same time, we had good people working for us as well.
Right, that makes all the difference too, doesn't it? Charlotte, let me come to you a little bit because you're much earlier in your journey. You've seen something that, like you say, has lit you up in terms of this is a great idea and I can bring it to the UK. You've made that connection about the sustainability of or the unsustainability of fast fashion. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are about where you're going to go in the next couple of years? What are you going to do with the fashion library? Where are you going to take it?
So my idea is like originally grown from just being bricks and mortar. I literally just saw the light bulb moment in LA and was like, okay, let's just replicate that back here. But then I started thinking more about, like always taking it back to what would help me as a stylist? Like, what are the pain points in my day-to-day life? And then ideas just kept coming thick and fast. I would be driving and I'd have to like voice note in my phone so I wouldn't forget and just brain dump everything. And then I started to speak to some other people, some tech guys I know, and really start to understand like AI and that kind of like technology and what's kind of advancing. And we're at that point right now that it's not going to go away. So it's either like you decide to like onboard it in your business and see how you can use it for the good, or you kind of like fall behind. So then I started looking at like how I like to work, and it's different in like different cities, obviously because of like logistics and other stuff. So I was like, okay, this can't just function in the physical realm, it needs to be virtual. Then I was like, okay, what else is going to help me? And it's like mood boards. They are the bane of our life as a stylist. We start with like creative decks from agencies. And by the end of it, when everyone's had a go and screenshotted these PDFs, they're fuzzy. It's like, so I was like, okay, we need to be able to actually drop the like real images of what we're going to bring onto the mood board, be able to edit the mood boards. So that's kind of the second phase, is a marketplace. So instead of us actually holding all the stock, we're going to like allow stylists to share their archives with each other and other industry, and then be able to mood board from that. And then the third part of the business is a fully integrated tech platform, which will streamline the creative process from start to finish with like clever AI hacks. We'll produce cast avatars. You'll get a real sense of how it's going to be on set before you've even set foot on set.
So a stage after mood boards, but it's actually brought to, well, some kind of 3D rendering. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and that's got global appeal and potential. I see it really, really good for long format TV series, feature films, as well as your like just day shoots. But just everyone's so short of time these days. So anything that you can do to really, help is just it's worth its weight in gold.
Just rewinding a little bit to when you were talking about the pain points of a stylist. So a stylist's job is to pull together a look from wherever your sources are. But what are the pain points that you looked at?
So it's quite an archaic way of working. I mean, we spend a lot of time over emails discussing with production, with clients. Stuff gets lost, stuff doesn't get sent. So having like a fully integrated tech platform where everything's centralized in a project cloud. Um, Another pain point is time. We are so short of time. Like we will get booked on a job and we're waiting for cast sizes, or we're still waiting for the job to confirm and it's about to shoot in like 48 hours, and we're just expected to go and be able to prep a job with 3 outfit changes for 5 cast characters in less than kind of 48 hours. So there's that too. And also on the other end of the job are returns. People forget about that, but we spend so much time you know, having to do the wrap, having to organize returns, having to go take them back to different shops and places. And it takes just as much as the prep time did at the beginning of the job.
Right, but it's not time you can charge for, is it? So the quicker it happens, the better it is.
Yeah, the quicker it happens, the better for us, the more it frees up our time too.
Gotcha.
And also, I feel like retail must hate us, you know?
Why? Because you're
Yeah, I mean, there's big returns going back. If you think about it, there's like, you know, sometimes £2,000-3,000 worth of stuff going back. And if that's a high street store, that's a lot of product. And there's smaller like stores that won't take it. They're like, because it affects their whole cash spend and how they're performing. So there's pluses for everyone, actually.
Absolutely. Emma, coming to you. Did you know it would get so big? This work that you were doing? I mean, it's often you can start somewhere and you don't know where you're going to end, but did you imagine you'd be able to have the kind of reach and the impact you've had?
I think when we started working in schools, what we realized was we can really, we worked in around 80% of the secondary schools in Birmingham, which is a phenomenal amount of schools. Obviously, there was a team of us. We thought we had something unique and special because it was a moment in time and no one else was doing this type of work. We grew really quickly, but it's like with anything. I mean, if you're a small, sort of relatively small company, you know, I'm talking less than 20 staff, you have to be nimble because culture and place changes all the time. So you're not necessarily sure. It's not even what the next thing is. It's more about where do you want to put your energy and your time. So we, I suppose, led the way when it comes to sort of DJ music, hip hop workshops in schools for around 10 years in our city region. We didn't have the network to expand nationally because I think sometimes you lose the humanness of the individual. So there's a group of us, like a good 10 of us going into all the schools. So there's a culture and a DNA that was built. I'm not sure, perhaps I was a bit young at the time to understand that. Could we have replicated that in other big major cities? And then, you know, we realized there was other holes and gaps in our city. So for instance, you know, we worked heavily in education, but then we also realized that there was no festival celebrating Black culture in, again, in our city region. So you know, and this wasn't about, you know, Black music or Black culture for Black people or Asian people or diverse people. It's like, you know, Black culture for the masses. And so we moved our energy towards setting up a festival. We did that for 10 years. So you know, sometimes things stay. I'm not that fussed about, you know, just leaving and dropping things and going, that's not working anymore, let's just move on. But I think you can do that if you're nimble and you don't have big departments. You're not like, you know, when you work with universities or a big company like, say, Google or Global, it takes ages to get a decision or move towards something sometimes. And so I think we're fortunate to be able to kind of shape very quickly and change people's time and resources into other things. And we were also lucky because I kind of, at the time, I was telling people about sitting on boards and, you know, making sure that we all have a sphere of influence. I think that's really important as well, whether it's, you know, a school, a centre, a local arts company. You know, there's this real big thing about being an advocate and champion of what you do, but also being in a position to be able to steer, you know, your thinking. What we have is we have a lot of complaints from creative individuals and organisations that there's not enough creativity in schools. Well, actually, there's not enough creatives on boards in schools to make those really hard decisions. Obviously, a lot of this is based around time. But, you know, my thing is, I think once you sit on a board somewhere, you realise it's not just about giving back. You often learn just as much as you give back. But I'm saying that sort of from a sort of music and sort of creative perspective. I know there's different pockets of the creative industries that are way more complicated than the stuff that we were doing. But that thing of ultimately we were always trying to solve problems. Sometimes we didn't know the problems existed, and sometimes we created those problems weirdly to solve them. So you kind of create a problem to solve the problem, which is always quite nice. I also think we were fortunate enough to have a really strong peer group as well. So there was a lot of critical discourse in our work, which often is people don't like to be told work's not very good, or you could do better here, or there's better practice over here. So we really valued that kind of peer-to-peer critical discourse, which I think is really important. But often people don't want
as well within the company.
we were constantly doing it ourselves. So there was like 10 of us working. How do we work with science modules? How do we work with rural communities? What do we need to do to get into schools quicker? So there's this kind of like plethora of sort of technical things that we wanted to become better at. And then we had some external stuff as well.
Fantastic. Charlotte, you're doing this on your own. Amo talks about this team that he's been out in a dialogue with. They've been doing this kind of really problem-solving kind of approach to things that come up that they're interested in and want to be committed to. For you, you're doing on your own, or are you? Have you got a team behind you yet?
I'm starting to put a team behind me. I actually had a co-founder, and she was on board for 4 months, and yeah, that was a really good quick lesson, a difficult one, but a very important one to learn so early on, because it actually could have gone very wrong. I think I know I was way too generous with the equity split, and I don't think she fully understood the amount of effort and what's required to go into a startup. And she was very focused on money and getting paid, and it just wasn't, the alignment was so off. Anyway, we almost had investment a few weeks ago, which kind of came from her side, and it fell through because the investor was really uncomfortable with the 50-50 split, because he knew it was my idea, my vision, it was all my money, everything, so it kind of made him really uncomfortable. So he pulled out, and 3 days later she actually quit on me too, which felt a bit weird, but it was the best thing that could have actually happened, because it allowed me to take back control of my company, and then learn a really, really, really important lesson and start establishing a much more solid and well-rounded team behind me.
Amazing. Oh, awesome. Well, I'm very much looking forward to where you go next with this. So, a question to both of you, but start with you, Charlotte. Where do you want to go to now? Where's the next, whatever kind of growth and/or movement that the company's going to make?
The next phase, we're like raising at the moment. So whether it's with angel investors, or there's a couple of grants actually, and there's one grant, it's as if someone's read my business plan and wrote the grant for it. So there's a bunch of those that are like closing soon, and that will allow us to really kind of push forward with the whole app R&D and get that up and growing.
So, what to do on that?
Sorry?
Is there a lot of work to do on that?
Yeah. I mean, I've been told by many of the tech people that I'm surrounded with, some are who like serial entrepreneurs who've, built and like raised unicorn companies. So I'm super lucky with some of the people in my corner. I feel very grateful. But yeah, there's definitely work to be done there. But my focus right now is this part of the business, creating the community and driving forward the raising the investment and the money.
Fantastic. Well, there's no point in giving you anyone in your direction. You certainly do that. Emma, what about for you? You know, you obviously, there's a massive commitment here to community, to young people. What's the next move you're going to make?
I think sometimes so just listening to Charlotte, failure is just part and parcel of what we do, and sometimes partners are not the best. I've had loads of failures. I've had loads of partners in small parts of my business, and the thing is, it's that thing of sometimes it's not something that we want to talk about, but I think the more people talk about money and failures, the more real we are, because this is happening to us all the time. People start businesses, people got certain values, and you move on, join this. My thing is, I also started as an independent, and what I found was the quicker I could give somebody 25% of my business, the quicker I felt I could grow. But it was bloody hard giving somebody 25% of your £100 a day. So, in the old days, you get 100 quid a day, and giving 25 quid, which was a lot of money in those days, to somebody, because you kind of always think, oh, I can do it myself, and I'd be quicker doing it. But the quicker you can, if you can, evolve that responsibility. I've always found the more you can be yourself and become better at what you do. Where do we want to go? I don't really know, if I'm honest. In terms of the work, I think things will change and move, which I'm it's like with culture, it changes, it moves. I think I don't necessarily have, this is what I think I'm going to do in 5 to 10 years time. We've got our business plans, but I have no intention of wanting to become a multinational. I'd like to create a product that, like a record that you could, when you sleep and you wake up, you earn some money. But for me, growth is more about, it's not about this thing that people talk about all the time, which is money, teams, global. It's more about people and place. So my thing about growth is, do we have good impact on the work that we do? Is that, are the people in our team, in our area, that whatever areas that we work, are they in a good space? Are we making changes that we really want to make? Are we solving the problems that we always ultimately identified as problems? So them are the things that I think are quite important.
Fantastic. I mean, that's something when we started looking at this particular program, was that you couldn't just see growth just in terms of profits, because there's so many people doing so many kinds of growth, whether it's impact growth, community wealth growth, whether it's growing the talent pool in your industry. There's lots of ways you can actually grow as a business and be connected to a community or to your sector. And that's something opened up in a lot of ways. So what you're saying, Anno, chimes with me very much, that we can do so much more with the business. We can take the profits and we can use those to grow new things as well and grow impact. I'm going to ask everyone who's here, when you're ready, if you've got a question, we're going to take some questions in a minute. So hi, welcome. And everyone online, if you want to get ready with a question, we'll take them from you in a minute. Question to Emma and Charlotte. If you could go back and give yourself some advice from where you are now, 2 different scales of time, what would you say to yourself, given what you know? Let's start with you, Emma, because you're on the screen.
I mean, yeah, just be okay about feeling uncomfortable. We all, that's one thing that I take, because the thing is, it's often when you're uncomfortable, you're learning stuff. You're having to kind of, analyze things quite quickly. So it's that thing of, just feeling okay about, it's okay to feel uncomfortable. And then the second thing is just, the thing that I say to people all the time, and I had done this to myself, is find someone local that really inspires you and get close to them. So don't think, and I know the world has changed because we're far more interconnected, but now perhaps, but I always find, find someone local that you can just have a cup of it, grab for 10 minutes in between, your gym or whatever, and just find that local business or friendship mentor that is going to be in that space for 5 to 10 years, because that kind of stuff is really, for me, that's really worthy and really has a long-term impact, not just I think on your business, but as you as an individual.
And was that one person for you, or did it change over time?
Yeah, no, to be fair, I had like 3 people that I still class as my sort of, it's weird because they're like my peers, but they're also my mentors, but they're also kind of, we switch roles. But when I met them, they were definitely like, I felt they were my mentors, but over the years we've become friends, and then things sometimes they just reverse because your working space or your knowledge is different or more advanced, or so that kind of, and they've become more than friendships. Most of them came to my wedding and stuff like that. So and I was lucky because I found those accidentally, but I made them happen, if that makes sense. So I found them randomly, a little bit of serendipity, but then I want you to really be part of my life for the next 10 years.
Fantastic, thank you. Charlotte, what about you? Go back in time, what would you advise yourself?
I think I probably would have spent a good 2-3 months really like doing some major marketing outreach prior to launching. But it is that kind of, double-edged sword, because how long are you gonna like work on something before you actually like bring it out into the real world? Most people have the idea and they talk about it, but they never actually get around to launching it. So I think hindsight, maybe a little bit more like marketing outreach. But definitely like similar to what Amo says, like just having that mentor. I managed, luckily, serendipity as well. This guy I was on set with in the States, he was playing a Gen X tech entrepreneur. And I was like, oh, this is your character. And he was like, oh, really? Because that's actually what I am. And I was like, oh, seriously? Like, I need to like have a coffee with you because I'd love to like talk to you about my business. And he's actually now sitting on my board of directors. And he sold his company to Microsoft a couple of years ago for an undisclosed amount. And it's just great to have someone like that who's so knowledgeable, who's been through it, to just guide you and be there to support you, whenever you need anything. He was great when all that stuff was going down with my co-founder and really helped me keep a level head and just navigate it.
Fantastic. Well, enough of me asking you questions. I think we've got a question from Yoma.
Yep.
Yoma, go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, thank you for this. And it's actually not so much a question, but I just wanted to echo, I was pleased with, not so much pleased because that's not necessarily a great thing. What Charlotte said about an earlier investor who eventually was pulled out really resonated with me. And it ties up with something that Amro actually has mentored me. and a couple of business partners. And that there was one thing you may or may not recall, Amo, when you challenged us to really address what our expectations were for this venture that we were in, and that never transpired. And lo and behold, there's been everything is imploded, and I think fundamentally because we didn't, for various reasons, really iron out as a group what this business was, what our expectations, our visions, our shared and agreed visions were. So that's really important. And it's as Amo said as well, it's good to talk about the challenges and the failures so that everyone, rather than, pretend it didn't happen, because we all learn from it. Those going through it and anyone who hears as well. So for me going forward, that was a huge learning curve. if I do venture with anyone else again, how I proceed with clarity of purpose and expectations in place. So yeah, it was more echoing what both of our guest speakers have said. Thank you.
Emma, did you want to say anything about?
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice getting to know Yoma and the team. The problem is the passion is always there. The pragmatism, it hurts when you really poke around the pragmatism and the how and the why. So, and I think passion, it doesn't matter what art form you're working. I want to do this, I want to build a theatre show, I want to do this. And it's just often we get confused in the how. And I think if you talk to people that have made mistakes in the how, well, ultimately as humans, I think we don't want other people to make mistakes that we made. And also learn from those mistakes. I also think another thing is always have a side hustle. You know, my thing is, it doesn't matter what you do. I used to drive vans for my uncle who used to own a motor spare shop, like just pre-millennium, just when Dizzy Rascal came out. So I was driving these like brake pads to Aylesbury every Sunday just to subsidize my shop. That was my side hustle. And the thing is, sometimes the side hustle pays for core business, but you know, never, you know, alienate yourself from the side hustle, whatever that is.
It's interesting that, Yoma, can I just ask a question before you finish? Does that imply, although you said it's an implosion, does that give you a chance to reset and restart?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. I'm resetting, restarting with much more clarity, mostly by myself. So I can have debates with myself about it.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got a question here. Gareth.
Hello? Hello? Emma, this is a question to you. How do you think I can develop my business? And I've worked with you a little bit before, but what tips could you give me?
That's a big old question.
Well,
Yeah. I think the thing is, you're embedded in Bristol already, and you're very well respected and known. I think from what I remember, I think there's something maybe technical around, like, you know, I don't know whether you've got, you know, it's that thing of sometimes you do so much, but you don't have the right deck to communicate what you do or the diversity of the work that you do. I don't know if you got this, by the way, or you may have had it in the last year or 2 years. I always find when I used to speak to you, you were doing so much good stuff over here, and you knew you had a route to London, to Birmingham, to various other places. But it's that thing of having, you know, something really, really concise about your work that you felt comfortable with. That was the first thing. Secondly, you know, if you're, it's that thing of finding. I know it's a really easy thing to say, and it's really hard to do, but having somebody that sits within your business, and again, you may have this, or you may have this already, but that almost it is a sort of, so you're the sort of creative network contacts. It's that finisher. So it's almost like a GM, a general manager that kind of finishes what you start. Because I think your contacts and your networks are really good, but sometimes you struggle to finish that thing that you wanted to do. Them are the two things that I feel. Obviously, we've worked together, so I know you. And hello, by the way.
yeah, hello. And I was going to say, I have put a pitch deck together, and this is what I'm trying to develop the pitch deck to see where I can get investment. But no, I agree with you. I do need someone to have that management point of view, and I think potentially I'm more creative, but I need that person, maybe it's a financial person or management, to say, okay, if you want to try and do this, this is what we do. And then,
yeah.
But no, yeah, I take your point. I take your point.
I'd like to say come and create growth course. That might give you a space to develop it.
No, I'm definitely going to put an application anyway, so.
Can I ask one for Emma?
Yeah.
Yeah, on that basis. So, Helen, Charlotte, sorry, you mentioned that you've put together a pitch deck and you are heading for investment, and now you are doing that again. What's your top tips about seeking investment?
Why do I want seed investment?
What's your top tips about preparing for investment?
Oh, preparing. So just to let you guys know, I'm on like version probably 50 now of the original pitch deck. It changes all the time. It should be changing kind of monthly, and you adapt them all the time. So you kind of get the framework there. And then every time you go out and meet someone or talk to someone, it will change and it will keep changing. And it should change. Like, don't just think because you've made a pitch deck, that's it. It's like it's a work in progress. But sorry, what was your question again? Because I got so sidetracked talking about that. How do you prepare? Yeah, you just keep updating, you just keep, going and having conversations with people. But, some people go out with full intention that they want to network. I just like to talk to everyone because you don't know, the person making your coffee in the morning might actually be your link to some high net worth angel investor. So it's just like talking to as many people as possible, getting your idea out there, getting your business out there, and it will inevitably end up in the right person's lap at the right time.
Great stuff. We've got another question.
Hello. I don't know if this works.
It works.
Okay.
We just can't hear it through the speakers, but they can.
Okay. This is really interesting. I have a question. I have two questions.
Go ahead.
Questions. I don't think that's too much.
Do it.
You might have both covered this. The first question is, how critical is innovation for financial sustainability and return of investment, for instance? And we talked a bit about kind of unique, and it sounded like a unique selling point. The second one we kind of covered as well, which I'm intrigued. How long, if you should hold on to your equity in your business? That's kind of 75%, 100% of your business, and the story is really interesting. And then the last one is, how do you navigate and ensure intellectual property is retained in your business?
Should we take those one at a time?
Yeah.
Let's go to the first one. Let's go to the first one. Do you want to ask it again?
The first one was, how critical is innovation for financial sustainability and return on investment?
Who would like to pick that up first?
I like Charlotte's facial expression.
There's no right answer.
Depends on the investor.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I don't operate in the kind of equity sort of percentage thing. I've always had my own company, and that's it. I've never gone for angel, but there is something about being able to articulate what your return on investment is. And when I say return on investment, I mean, if I'm going to the local authority, or if I go to a screen agency, or I go to a theatre, I often talk about community and impact as their return on investment, which is a completely sort of, different hypothesis to an angel investor who wants an actual financial return. So my return on investment is often things that people perhaps don't have the algorithms for. It could be about well-being, it could be about representation, it could be about legacy issues, so that's something that I've always found, and we use the language that we feel comfortable with, and so we found that works for the area that we work on. Perhaps it wouldn't work for something that Charlotte's involved in, I don't know. And the second question was about financial investment. I think there's loads of money out there, and it's really easy for someone who's, had loads of money put into their company. But I'm telling you now, there's loads of money out there. It's just knowing where the right clouds and the right time. But there's loads of money for us, not just as individuals, as companies, as creatives. It's just finding a rhythm on how you share and present your story, And just listen to Charlotte again. A lot of it's about speed. You know, nowadays it was a bit more nuanced. You know, in the sort of post-millennium. Now it's like the speed is really quick. So find your story, find how you articulate it, and articulate it to, you know, not as many people as you want, but the right people to kind of say, well, sometimes this is a bit of a numbers thing. I'll tell you a story. When I was doing workshops to you know, to youth centres, I used to send out a flyer and a letter and a poster to 150 youth centres. 50% of them out of the 150 used to look at the letter. 25% of them used to call. 10% of them I did business with. 10% out of 150 is 15. 15 times 3,000, 45 grand. That was like a phenomenal amount of money in the millennium. So sometimes it's a bit of a numbers thing as well. I know it's different now because everyone uses emails, but God, I'm showing my age, but we used to send letters back in those days, signed. Yeah.
Charlotte, ROI, you know, there's some sort of metrics you're looking at more around sustainability and about the lack of, you know, how, you know, less travel of stuff or, you know, being able to do stuff with less resources.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a trending investment area, sustainability. Also, being female founded, that ticks a box right now. But a lot of angel investors and just investors and VCs are very like short on time, and apparently they spend less than 3 seconds per slide on your pitch deck. So you really need to grab them from like the get-go. So you've got to kind of think outside the box. I always had it in my head that even before I'd like done my pitch deck, I wanted to create something that made people want to be like, what is this? I need to know more. So that was kind of what I went for, and it definitely has had that impact on people. People are like, wow, this is a really nice deck. Also, like, just get people you know to like intro you too, because yes, there's emails and everyone's emails are available, but it's much easier if you've had someone be like, oh, hey, you need to talk to this person. So just, it's all about networking. It's all about, you know, just meeting that right person and getting them to introduce you. And, but you've got to ultimately put yourself out there too, you know? And it also depends how you like to network. Are you one of those people that likes to go to big networking events and work the room? Or do you prefer, you know, small, intimate, a coffee with someone, or, you know, just much smaller groups?
Absolutely, because that can be quite a confrontation for some people. Was that all your questions? Did we get around? Was it those little bundle of?
My last one was.
Do your last one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. My last one was how to best manage and navigate intellectual property if you're a small business.
Well, I've been on a 2-day course about that, so if anyone's got any top tips, that'd be great.
What was the question again? Repeat the question.
Protecting your IP.
Yeah.
Manage your IP. It's like how do you manage children? It's like you sometimes you have to make it up as you go along, and sometimes you know you need hard like legislation to support that. I think you know if you get something that you just know, you know, test. You know, it's that thing of testing it and exploring it, and then I'm not an expert on it, but it's complicated.
I mean, I've definitely got certain things trademarked, but, you know, I was also told by an investor that, you know, if someone's not copying your idea, then there's an issue.
Interesting. Fantastic. There's other people online. This is your chance to send in your question if you haven't already. Is there anything there, sis?
No, they can ask themselves. Just unmute and ask away.
Unmute or pop it in the chat, whatever feels right. Otherwise, we might move on. No?
Wow, Charlotte.
Yeah, all good?
Oh, good.
Well, Charlotte Hull, Alice Howard, thank you so much for joining us tonight in this very intimate but very thoughtful group. It's always a pleasure, I know, to have you with us. Charlotte, it's the first time we've brought you into a session, and I really appreciate both of your time. It doesn't work without brilliant people like yourselves bringing in your experience, so thanks so much, and hopefully we can ask you to come another time.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
See you again soon. Bye.
Well, you're going to touch on the creative growth program for the ones online? Okay. Should I put your presentation up?
Yeah, would you?
Sure can.
So everyone online, you're missing out because we've got a lot of snacks here, which we might have to dig into before just coming in. But we just wanted to encourage you to apply for the next Creative Growth training program. And the reason why I want to encourage you is because we would like people like yourself to come and bring the companies that you've got, if it feels right, of course, if it feels right to you. This program is designed for creative businesses, and it's very much about bringing people like the two people you've just seen into. Where am I putting that? Is that right? Sorry.
Yeah, good.
Well, just to give you some explanation, the government is putting money into creative businesses at the moment because they grow at something like 4 times the rate of the rest of the UK economy, which makes us really exciting for them because we do that. We can produce income that others can't. I mean, if you look at these 3 little amounts of gross value added, which came from creative industries, 107 billion in 2019, 95 in 2020, obviously we had lockdown and COVID, but back in 2021 we were looking at 104 billion. So that's more than aerospace, automotive, life sciences, oil and gas sectors combined, which is why we're important. It's why they're paying attention and they're putting money into a program like this. So, oh, sorry, it's gone again.
It's all right.
It's all right. Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a clear, I guess, concise definition of creative industries?
No, there's an all-embracing definition of creative industries,
So I just want to clarify.
which means you've got like a creative product or you're using a creative process.
Yeah.
But it's anything from design to video to, you're enabling creative companies or you're, supporting creative companies. And companies like this, so this one is Trigger Stuff. Started off nearby. They have been growing rapidly over the years since they did a project called the Hatchling. So these are like real creatives, if you like. So they're creating events and public facing. They're very much about bringing in multiple cultures into encounters with each other. And this particular one is Pollination they did in Birmingham as part of the Unboxed Festival. Trigger Stuff. Angie Ball, and sorry I've forgotten her co-founder's name. And they've just done amazing with being able to not only attract finance to put on these performances, but also to put on the kind of stories and encounters that we need. Another piece of what they've done is grow, where they've looked at the sources of seeds. Something like 60 to 80% of seeds in this country have come from somewhere else. So they do lots of work about people coming from other places, but through different methods.
What do you mean seeds? Like
Seeds.
seeding?
Plant seeds.
Oh, seeds.
Plant seeds, yeah. They don't come from here, but they've come from everywhere, which is, you know, and so they've used that as a source of how they tell stories and how they do work. Celestial, basically a drone company, started to work with 3D modelling and to be able to use drones to like paint pictures, moving and 3D pictures in the sky. And Celestial, also a local company, grown amazingly, and I don't have the figures to hand, but they went on to do Coventry City of Culture, their big sky show. So instead of now fireworks, cities are bringing in drone shows, and Celestial were one of the first to get here with this kind of thing. So when we think about growth for you, it might be that a programme like this is useful, and it might be that it's not right. And so what I'm going to do is sort of ask you a couple of questions about what would growing in the right way look to you if you were thinking about growing. Because there's lots of different forms of growth. So you might grow your clients, you might grow your profits, you might grow the talent pool in your sector. So say you wanted to build up a mega gang of new young people that had the skills that you have, so that you could work with them and others could work with them. You might grow your project. You might want to suddenly do like 12 next year rather than 3. Or you might look at what your team is. So who do you need? So for example, you, Mona, and you were talking about possibly bringing new people into this new thing you're doing. Or are you building your products and services? Or are you growing the impact on your community? Are you actually wanting to take the profits that you make in a commercial setting and actually put them into something that wouldn't be there in the first place, or support people that are already doing things? So what would growing look like to you? And if you think there's something that you would like to do, if you think there's a growth path on any of these forms of growth paths, then that's what this programme's about. I'm just going to, these are too detailed, but let me just tell you, it's 8 months of a training workshop each month, and each part is a little part of a path to what this growth might be. So you'll do different sections. So one will be about what are the risks, another one will be about how do you work with the finances to be able to tell a story of that growth, so you can attract investment or support or engagement. So each month, one morning online training workshop with a panel of experts like the ones you've seen today. And then we're identifying, resourcing, managing and planning for whatever you're trying to do. Kind of looks like this, because we're online for that session. And then we do one session a month which is live together. And that's with people like you and not like you, companies like yours and not like yours, deliberately. And then we have expert sessions and deeper dives, so someone takes us into a particular topic. We've got one coming up that I'd like to invite you all to, which is on how a company ends.
How a company ends.
Yeah, different ways of ending a company. Yeah, because no one ever thinks about the ending. We always think about the beginning, and we always have honeymoon periods about what we're doing. But actually, we might want to give the company to the community. We might want to give it to do an employee ownership scheme. We might want to sell it. So there's lots of things that people do, and what you do at the beginning. Our founders' talks are my favourite thing, which is where you get someone with deep experience come and tell you how to get out of the difficult stuff. And those ones are really magical. This is what the background scene looked like. And I guess if you're thinking about it at all, I'd just like you to think about, do you want to grow something in some kind of way? Or at least have a think about it. Have you got time now for the application? So the applications need to be in on the 1st of December. So you've got a couple of weeks to do that. And then, do you have time to work on this? Because this really only works if you put the work in. Because it's not really a takeaway kind of experience. It's very much a get stuck in, talk to people, do work with them. So that's what it is. You can ask me anything now about that and anything else. I'll tell you if I can. There's a little QR code there on the screen for you to be able to, if you want to follow that or follow that link, and that will take you to a form which has got a bunch of stuff on it about what those growth plans might be. So it might be good to have a look at it, go away, come back when you've got the bits and pieces that you want to actually put into it. And that's everything from me. If there's any questions, I am more than happy to take them. And thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate seeing you. You got any questions, Sid?
Do we have any questions? Let's see. Not from our lovely guests. No, let's see. Are they here? Okay,
well, I guess if there's any questions at another time, I'll ask Sid to sort of let us know.
They got any questions?
Don't hold back.
Emma?
No, I don't have any questions, thank you, but that was really helpful event, thank you.
No problem.
Nisha?
Nisha, text. Thank you very much. No question.
Thanks, Nisha.
All right.
Let's start. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Brilliant.
I was just going to ask, what's the success rate on your testimonies with that programme? Do you have anything?
I haven't got it yet. We've got testimony from past programmes,
Yeah.
but not this. This is a new one.
Yeah.
And before we did some stuff that was just sort of covering some basics around growth. This one we've redesigned